If you think about Egypt, quickly the pyramids come to mind. Mainly the 3 pyramids of Giza. They are the oldest of the 7 wonders of the ancient world and the only ones still standing. But how did this architectural form emerge? In this video we will take a closer look at the development of this building type. Pyramids were the tombs of pharaohs of the Old Kingdom. So it is a good idea to look at how Egyptian kings have been buried before this time in the so-called early dynastic period, which consists of the first and the second dynasty. This time is also known as the Tenite period. People belonging to the then existing elite were buried in so-called mastabas. Mastaba is an Arabic word meaning stone bench. Architecturally speaking, a mastaba is a truncated pyramid. There were 1 or more shafts with the actual burial at their bottom. After the funeral, these shafts were filled with stones and rubble, as was the mastaba itself. A very important piece of evidence for the development of the pyramids is the step pyramid of Pharaoh Djoser at Saqqara. It is part of a huge complex designed and built by the royal architect, Imhotep. Begun as a mastaba, red, the building was enlarged several times, brown, and eventually the architect began stacking mastabas on top of each other, orange, which resulted in the step pyramid we can admire today, yellow. The lateral sides of each step are sloped, which is an inheritance of the mastaba form. Djoser was presumably the first pharaoh of the 3rd dynasty. The following 4th dynasty was founded by Pharaoh Snofru, who had built not 1, but remarkably enough, 3 pyramids. The first one was built near Meidum, Snofru's seat of government. The ruins of this building today look like a step pyramid, but in reality it was a straight-sided one. The steps we see today are only the core of the pyramid. These steps were encased with limestone, which made the Meidum pyramid the first real pyramid. But already in ancient times the building partially collapsed, and the mound of rubble with which the pyramid is surrounded today, in reality, is the rest of the encasing. There are no remains of a mortuary temple on the pyramid's eastern side. This temple would have been necessary for the recurring sacrifices for the buried pharaoh. This means that Snofru was not buried in this pyramid, which makes sense, because during his reign he relocated his seat of government from Meidum to Dahshur. There he immediately started to build another pyramid, the so-called Bent Pyramid. The ground plan of this pyramid is a square with a side length of 188 meters. As in Meidum, there is no mortuary temple on the eastern side of this building, but only a small chapel. So, Pharaoh Snofru was not buried here either. The reason for this may be the characteristic shape of the building, which led to the nickname, Bent Pyramid. Having reached a little bit more than the half of the planned height, the builders encountered static problems. They realized that the pyramid was in danger of collapsing because the ground was not able to take the load of the building. So they reduced the angle from about 54 degrees to about 43 degrees, and so were able to finish the building. But you have to be lenient with them. After all, the so-called Bent Pyramid was the first one that was planned right from the beginning as a real pyramid. Nevertheless, the Bent Pyramid obviously was not deemed acceptable as the burial site for a pharaoh. Within sight of it, Snofru had a 3rd pyramid begun, the so-called Red Pyramid, named after the red limestone with which it was built. You can see it in this photo of the Bent Pyramid in the background on the right-hand side. The Red Pyramid stood on firm ground, and the corridors and chambers were built inside the pyramid and not, as in the case of the Bent Pyramid, under it. The angle of inclination is about 44 degrees and thus matches the one in the upper part of the Bent Pyramid. Obviously the builders were eager not to make the same mistakes again. And they succeeded. The Red Pyramid could be finished as planned and was the first real, that means geometric pyramid. So Snofru's building program paved the way for the famous huge pyramid his son Khufu would build on the Giza Plateau, and which became the epitome of all the Egyptian pyramids. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe so you won't miss new ones.